I'm definitely very late on talking about this achievement, however, I still want to cover the progress made on this level recently, because I feel like if I covered the major progress we're seeing on a couple top 15 levels, I should definitely be covering this one because we've been seeing major progress happening on a potential top 5, meaning it is around orbit difficulty or maybe even around tidal wave. And this is on the level It Means Everything. Now I have the impossible level list pulled up here, and as you can see it is ranked 983 on here. Now, there's been a couple people who have went for this level, well, not just a couple, there has been a bunch, and pretty much everyone who's actually tried going for this level has a ridiculously high attempt count, so every single person I'm going to talk about has a lot of dedication, and I'm not going to cover every single person that has played this level in this video, but I will be covering the recent progress we've seen on it, and then also just a couple other people that were playing it. I'll start off with the first thing, which is the world record progress we've seen on it, and this is by the player Walty. Now, Walty isn't the first person to play this level, but definitely the person who has shown the most drive, because Walty started this over a year ago with a 46% run posted, and ever since then we've only really seen It Mean Everything progress. With Walty getting 56, then 61, and then 2 days ago, well, a day ago as I was recording this, but it's just hit 2 days old, 74%. Now, I think this level is really interesting because it is a 1.7 themed level, which is really cool because when you get levels that are themed around a certain update, it's usually 1.9 or later, and if it is older than 1.9, it's usually the bare bones versions of the games. So I like to see these ones that are in these like middle updates like 1.7. It's really interesting. Now, it isn't limited entirely to 1.7. I believe that color channels, well, 4 color channels were used for each part that's playing. The overall level uses more than 4 color channels. Most objects here, as you can see, are just strictly in 1.7. Now, yeah, this run is crazy. Getting this far into the level, I don't know how levels like this are possible. This is after 500,000 attempts. There's not many levels ever which have received over 500,000 attempts put on it. There's very few that I can think of. There's a couple jumps that I've seen with people having more attempts, and there's been stuff like the jumping to tidal wave, which is 1,000,000 attempts, obviously. But besides those, there isn't really many attempts that get to this amount, so Walty has so much dedication here. We can see this was done after 460 deaths, which is pretty much nothing for a level this difficulty, and this was an over 10% fluke, so that was pretty cool to see. Yeah, top comment is there's finally an actual underrated top 5 that's getting verified. Now, for how popular Walty is, 13,000 views actually is a lot, but this is still heavily underrated. This happened around the same time as Orbit getting its first Victor, and that has over double the views as this. I think it deserves relatively the same. But I am happy that this is probably going to be the most popular progress on the channel. Now, something that I find very interesting is that the original creator of this level is someone called Vel, but Vel was actually also trying to verify this level. The latest progress we ever saw was 8 months ago, getting 34%. But I just find it so interesting that someone that created their proudest project was also trying to verify it. He stated himself that this level was probably the hardest thing he's ever attempted to create, and also the hardest thing ever attempted to beat. There's other runs here, but it's just really impressive. Now, there may be some confusion with people to the level's difficulty. Now, Stefan Boss is someone who also had a bunch of progress on this level, and you can see that 4 months ago, he posted progress of 54%, which is also really impressive, but it's listed as a top 3 there. That's because there's kind of 2 versions of this level. There's, well, not 2, but basically some people have buffed the version that they're playing, and some people are playing the unnerfed. The unnerfed in current day is around top 5, and some of these buffed ones are going to around top 3 in difficulty, which is what Stefan Boss is playing. As you can see here, I have mostly buffed the ships, though I'm probably going to nerf it back a bit to keep the middle ground. I just want to buff the level to the difficulty it would be without CBFs. So he's kind of trying to focus on getting this level back to the difficulty it would have been without RobTop adding CBF, or just CBF in general. Now, because RobTop has added CBF, I think that since it's official now, the reasoning for this doesn't make as much sense, so I think that maybe we might see him go back to playing the unnerfed version, or if not, maybe he's quit the level, because again, we haven't seen progress in 4 months, but then also it just takes a long time to make progress on levels like these, if you get what I'm trying to say. Now, I've said this before when talking about other levels around this difficulty, but I think that these levels get very overlooked when people are trying to verify them, because obviously in modern day, we have so many people talking about the top ones that are getting verified, because there's like 7 different top ones that are currently nearly verified, so everyone's super focused on them. I also made a poll to see what era of play people think are exciting, and the majority of people voted for the one we're currently in. I'm sure a lot of that was kind of siding towards more new gen players, but I believe that most of those votes are just because of how many top ones we are currently seeing getting verified, which means we get less attention on the levels that normally would see a lot that are in this kind of top 5 to 20 range. There are people, as of today, beating levels that are harder than Abyss of Darkness, that are being verified, not just completions, being verified, and they get under 1,000 views, sometimes not even 500. And that kind of just shows how much the difficulty barrier is increasing here, how much the skill ceiling is being raised in the modern day. I just don't get how people can progress on levels as hard as It Means Everything, with there potentially being 4 or 3 levels even harder than it already beaten. And currently we're seeing a bunch of people finally beat a lot of these top 10s. We saw our first victor of Orbit, we're seeing a ton of Tidal Wave progress, a bunch of Nullscapes victors are popping up. We saw our first couple Quantus processing victors a month back. Bubawamba's been seeing victors. Everyone's always really been seeing victors. And Penumbral very recently got another victor in the form of Bacon, which I haven't covered. I decided to cover this instead today. But that's also something that's happened in the past day. So yeah, it just shows that all this progress, I think, needs to be looked at more, specifically these verifications that are still ridiculously hard, but they're just not getting as much attention. I'm sure 12,000 views is still a lot, but I feel like it deserves more, because I know there's more than 12,000 people that care about a top 5, and let's give the video a couple of months and it hits 20,000, right? 20,000 views? There are still way more people than 20,000 who care for something like this, but they just like don't even know what's happening, because most of the kind of topics that people talk about is just the top ones, or these videos just don't get recommended to them. So yeah, congratulations to Walty for actually being able to pull this off. I have no clue if Bloodlust is still the hardest, because it's the only really thing I can see on the channel, but if that is the case, that is crazy. The other people I've talked about in this video have spent around 100,000-ish attempts, if that, and Walty has quintupled that. Walty is at 500,000. So even on the higher end, with some people spending like 250k, this is still double that. It is crazy how people like Walty can continue playing this level, like despite how impossible it feels, we're still seeing progress. And I don't know, I haven't played the level, but from just looking at it, it seems a lot more fun than a lot of the current top 5 we have. I think most people agree that Flame Wall is really fun, and everyone else seems to hate the other levels. I think Orbit's kind of reviews are really mixed right now, but everyone else seems to not really like the levels that much, besides Flame Wall. But yeah, It Means Everything, really cool. Go support Walty, don't have much more to say. Thanks for watching, and peace.